Brookside and Berkeley. It's Mrs. Eliason back again to read some more books to you guys. So this week, I'm going to read two books that have the same main character. And these books, just like last week, if you remember last week I read Corduroy, these books are also classics. Now, do you remember last week, what did I tell you? What were the three things that make a book a classic? Do you remember? Well, the first thing that makes a book a classic is it's usually a book that's been around for a while. The second thing that makes a book a classic, it's really popular, it's really well known. And the third thing that makes a book a classic is it's considered to be really great. All right, so the book that I'm going to read this week, and actually I'm going to read two books with the same character, but the one that I think you guys know really well is Harry the Dirty Dog by Jean Zion. Pictures by Margaret Bloy Graham. Go like this if you know Harry the Dirty Dog. I think a lot of you do, definitely. This is a classic. This book was actually written in the year 1956. Yeah, it's a long time ago, over 60 years ago. But it is a classic book that kids have been reading for years and years and years. In fact, this is a really, really popular book in my family. In fact, my father gave me this exact copy of Harry the Dirty Dog when my son was born, over 8 years ago. And if you look inside, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my family. My father put a picture of our family's dog, Harry, inside the book, and he wrote donated by Harry Caponegro. Caponegro is my maiden name. And Harry belonged to my parents years and years and years ago. I actually still lived at home when they first got Harry. And he's a white dog. He was a mixed poodle Bichon, so kind of a mutt poodle Bichon mix. And he truly was the dirtiest dog, Harry. He was white, but as soon as he would get groomed, let me tell you, that dog would find any kind of mud puddle or anything disgusting, and he would have to roll around in it because he always loved to be dirty. So that was my family's dog, Harry, and we named him actually after this book because he was a dirty dog, just like Harry the Dirty Dog in this book. So now I'm going to read Harry the Dirty Dog in honor of my parents' old dog, Harry. Harry was a white dog with black spots who liked everything except getting a bath. So one day when he heard the water running in the tub, he took the scrubbing brush and buried it in the backyard. Then he ran away from home. He played where they were fixing the street and got very dirty. He played at the railroad and got even dirtier. He played tag with other dogs and became dirtier still. He slid down a coal chute and got the dirtiest of all. In fact, he changed from a white dog with black spots to a black dog with white spots. Although there were many other things to do, Harry began to wonder if his family thought that he really had run away. He felt tired and hungry too, so without stopping on the way, he ran back home. When Harry got to his house, he crawled through the fence and sat looking at the back door. One of the family looked out and said, "There's a strange dog in the backyard. By the way, has anyone seen Harry?" When Harry heard this, he tried very hard to show them that he was Harry. He started to do all his old clever tricks. He flip-flopped and he flop-flipped. He rolled over and played dead. He danced and he sang. He did all these tricks over and over again. But everyone shook their heads and said, "Oh no, it couldn't be Harry." Harry gave up and walked slowly toward the gate. But suddenly he stopped. He ran to a corner of the garden and started to dig furiously. Soon he jumped away from the hole, barking short, happy barks. He found the scrubbing brush, and carrying it in his mouth, he ran into the house. Up the stairs he dashed, with the family following close behind. He jumped into the bathtub and sat up begging with the scrubbing brush in his mouth, a trick he certainly had never done before. "This little doggy wants a bath," cried the little girl, and her father said, "Why don't you and your brother give him one?" Harry's bath was the soapiest one he had ever had. It worked like magic. As soon as the children started to scrub, they began shouting, "Mommy, Daddy, look, come quick! It's Harry, it's Harry, it's Harry!" they cried. Harry wagged his tail and was very, very happy. His family combed and brushed him lovingly, and he became once again a white dog with black spots. It was wonderful to be home. After dinner, Harry fell asleep in his favorite place, happily dreaming of how much fun it had been getting dirty. He slept so soundly, he didn't even feel the scrubbing brush he had hidden under his pillow. All right, guys, so that is Harry the Dirty Dog. Now, I think a lot of you know this book because I know we often read this in school, but I have another book with Harry in it. Okay, guys, this next book is called No Roses for Harry. Now, it's the same main character, Harry the Dirty Dog, but in this one, Harry gets a sweater that he does not like. Have you ever had that happen to you? Have you ever gotten a gift from like a relative or someone you really love, but you just don't really like the gift? Yeah, go like that if that's ever happened to you. Yeah, that stinks, right? Because, you know, you want to be polite and you want to look like you're grateful, but at the same time, you're thinking in your head, I don't really like this present. Yeah, well, that happens to Harry in this book. He gets a sweater that he does not like. Let's see what happens. So this is No Roses for Harry. Harry was a white dog with black spots. On his birthday, he got a present from Grandma. It was a woolen sweater with roses on it. Harry didn't like it the moment he saw it. He didn't like the roses. When he tried it on, he felt cozy and snug, but he still did not like the roses. He thought it was the silliest sweater he had ever seen. The next day, when Harry went downtown with the children, he wore his new sweater. When people saw it, they laughed. When dogs saw it, they barked. Harry made up his mind then and there to lose Grandma's present. When they went into a big store to shop, the children took off his sweater and let him carry it. This was just what Harry wanted. First, he tried to lose it in the pet department, but a man found it and gave it back. Then he tried to lose it in the grocery department, but a lady found it and gave it back. He tried to lose it in the flower department, but a little boy found it and gave it back. The children didn't let Harry carry it anymore. They made him wear it. As they started home, Harry was beginning to think he'd never lose it. When he got home, his parents were waiting to play with him. His friends were waiting to play with him. But Harry didn't feel like playing, so they left him alone. As he sat wondering what to do, Harry noticed a loose stitch in his sweater. He pulled at the wool, just a little at first, then a bit more, and a little bit more. Harry didn't know it, but a bird was watching. In a minute, Harry had pulled out quite a long piece of the wool. The end of it lay on the grass behind him. Suddenly, the bird flew down. Quick as a flash, she took the end of the wool in her beak and flew away with it. It all happened before Harry could even blink. The sweater began to disappear right before Harry's eyes. First one leg, then the neck, then the other leg, then the back, and finally, the whole thing was just one long piece of wool flying off into the sky. The sweater was gone. Harry could hardly believe it. He barked and jumped with joy. Then he ran out of the yard. He ran down the street barking thank you to the bird over and over again. The bird and wool were just a tiny speck in the sky, but Harry kept following them. He came home thirsty and tired and was having a drink in the kitchen when the children ran in. "We got a letter from Grandma," one of them said. "She's coming to visit us," shouted the other. Harry thought of the sweater, and his tail drooped. Before Grandma came, the family looked everywhere for the sweater. They wanted her to see how nice Harry looked in it. Of course they couldn't find it. Only Harry knew why. When Grandma arrived, Harry ran to her with his leash. Then he sat up and begged. "All right, Harry," said Grandma. "After I've had my lunch and a nap, we'll go for a walk." That afternoon, Harry and Grandma and the children started off on their walk. Harry barked happily and pulled towards the park. When they got to the park, Harry pulled harder. The children let him off his leash and he ran on ahead. He seemed to be looking for something. All at once he stopped under a big tree. He looked up and began to bark and wag his tail. Grandma and the children came running. They got to the tree and looked up too. Suddenly, one of the children said, "I see a nest. It's made of wool," said the other, "and it's the very same color as Harry's sweater," they shouted together. "It is Harry's sweater," exclaimed Grandma. Just then a bird looked out of the nest. "Look, Grandma, look," shouted the children. "Harry gave his sweater to a bird." "I wonder how he did that," said Grandma. The bird sang and Harry wagged his tail even harder. At Christmas, Harry got a present from Grandma. It was a new sweater. Harry liked this one very much. When he tried it on, he felt as cozy and snug as the bird in the nest. But best of all, it was white with black spots. All right, so that is No Roses for Harry and Harry the Dirty Dog, both by Jean Zion with pictures by Margaret Bloy Graham. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye.